Hello there. Thanks for surviving all of these talks. I know there's been quite a few, so I'll try to keep it light. That's me over there. I've been working in data for quite some time. Had experience at the NYSE Year Next. We're in 12 countries, 23 electronic market centers. I worked with Hadoop at Waterline, which is now Hitachi Vantara. I started Praxi Data in 2018. And really what we wanted to do was, you know, get beyond the hype, basically, try to come up with solutions that would be, practically applicable, you know. So maybe not so earth-shattering, but a lot of the things uh, that present a critical roadblock for pretty much all data analytic projects is basically the quality of your data, understanding your data. So we really focus and base our foundation on good curation. So what does that mean? Does that mean you actually alter the data? No, it means that you understand it and you classify it. You tag it with the appropriate content and perhaps what it should be used for, right? So I'm not going to read and bore you with every word on the slide, but you can kind of understand the challenges that people come across with curating and classifying data to get that good understanding, right? Um, it's not a very glamorous or fun thing to do, so people don't want to do it. It's very expensive, and it's categorically missing in pretty much any data-driven organization. You can buy the shiniest new tool, but it's not going to work unless you have this foundational source, right? And that's that last piece, that foundational source. Okay, so here's some use cases. I kind of generalize this instead of going into too much detail. If you want to talk about a specific one, we encourage you to come to our booth, number 706. It's over there. We'll be happy to answer your questions. But here's some common ideas. So pretty basic, know your customer. One of the things we can do is do that classification across unstructured, semi-structured, which is really forms, and structured data. We allow you to have a abstracted common view of classification for all of your data. So if you want to look for, I don't know, customer data or claims data, we'll find that in all of your data sources, wherever it is, whatever type it is, and whatever platform it is. So that's really what we mean by really understanding and getting a handle on your data. Dynamic combinations. I'm actually going to skip this one because the next slide talks about it. Automatic data classification. So one of the things we do, kind of like the speaker before, we really focus on pre-training the ability to match and classify data in advance. Like the other slide mentioned, it's not very fun. It's error prone, so we do that in advance. So we start off with accord terms. So the semantic terms, all 15,000 of them or whatever, we've taken care of them for property and casualty as well as life and retirement. So we start off with that as the orthodoxy. Most people have different names for them, so we create synonyms. Basically, what you got to know is that out of the box, we already can identify these things, right? And we do them recursively, automatically. And we're really smart about it. We spend a lot of time doing this and happy to go into great detail on how we're able to do this efficiently. The last thing is knowledge-based standardization. In addition to this matching, we also are able to create, just as you might have guessed, a fine-tuned LLM for insurance. So one of the things we can do is also overweight some critical documents. Let's say you have a call center in a different country. They're supporting 100 products. Those financial products can have 3 writers. So if you do the quick math, it's like 100 factorial over 97 or something. Anyways, it's a huge number. So there's no possible way that those people anywhere can provide expertise and authoritativeness on all of those products. But if we can generate that and have some master table, we can feed it into that LLM so it's included. So across your organization, they will always get the absolute same answer every time, and you can get that one call resolution. You don't need to have follow-ups. You don't need to have escalations. This just leads to a whole, slew of efficiencies that we can talk about if you like. Okay. Okay, so this picture is the toxic or dynamic toxic combinations, and this is something that that we've innovated on. Not too many folks can do this. In fact, I don't think anybody here today has presented this. So let's say you have a bunch of different data sets, like on the bottom. You have first name, you have family name, which is actually a synonym of last name. You have a purchase, and you have a product. Although it doesn't say customer in any of the files, fields, or attributes, a human being would know it's a customer. And we've created this object called customer. So this is a synthetic derivative object. It's basically a label that we stuck on there saying, if you have those four things, there's customer in there. And then consequently, we can do other actions. Because this is in the metadata space, all the tools that you already have, we can synchronize with them and give them this information, right? So if you have data protection, they may not know it's a customer data. They may not know it's PII, but we can inform them that it is. And so our partners will be able to receive that. Now, if it's customer data, you might also want to start off a governance process or many other things. You might want to notify marketing, because we can elaborate this derived object with more junk. We can add North America. We can add high wealth income. So these objects can just be layered on top of each other. So we can create a very rich set of concepts that are very interesting that you want to know about. And because we do this classification automatically, we'll detect these things in real time. Well, as often as you let us run, right? So we can kick off these automatic rules for customer or high wealth individual automatically, right? So the whole point is that you have this automation, but it's really practically grounded in your organization. You don't need to do anything special. Like, your data is classified, and based upon that, it drives the rest of the workflow, right? You don't need to build anything new. This will just work. So how do we find it? We start off with the semantic meaning, maybe something like a word. It has the standard naming, common synonyms, handling policies, right? So we tell analysts workflows about the handling policies in advance before they finish their work, so they don't have to redo it. But we also include the digital fingerprint. So that's what the representation of those business ideas are in actual data, right? So that's really critical. We have inclusion lists and exclusion lists. That's to help us disambiguate, to make sure we make good classification. We also do some things around position, which we can talk about later. But the cool thing is this last box, complex structures, which we just talked about, right? And then those automatic hooks. Now, the other innovation that we've had is that we took all that information. So think about this. We profiled all your data, wherever it is in different countries. We extracted the metadata. We made that classification. Now we use that as the external source for RAG, for your GenAI. So when you ask a question in a prompt, your answers are not going to be from the internet or so wherever. And it's not going to be from one or two documents that you painfully uploaded into OpenAI. This is all of your data. So you're getting a response back from all of your data, as well as those special governance documents that you've determined for policies. So it's a much more tailored fit. So instead of some, very generalized tool, we're really thinking about a practical application for these use cases, and it requires a practical set of AI tools. Another thing we do, we're working on the response to those prompts. So unlike like a college essay, when you talk to a chat interface, you don't want an essay. You want very specific things. So we have a specific format that we return back. It'll be a summary, it'll be compliance, and then it'll be data assets that are relevant to your answer. So you have a very consistent response. So you can use this, ad hoc through search, or you can use this programmatically, right? So the idea is that all this stuff builds together around classification of your data. All right. So on the left, we have a typical set of common challenges that anybody deploying GenAI will have. And you can kind of look at this yourself. But on the left is our take on how to resolve those in exactly a practical manner. So you got to use RAG. Everybody's probably talked about it. You can't use a generic GenAI. It just won't work for a highly regulated vertical like insurance. You need to be able to handle scale. You don't want to upload 2 documents every time you want to have a chat session. It's a disaster. You need to be able to handle security in advance. So these are a lot of things that typical users will not be able to even think about. So we build this into our curation. So we have security based upon even the metadata, right? And the fine tuning, we talked about that already. We're fine tuning against your data. In terms of rollout, we deploy through virtual images. So you can rehydrate our solution wherever you want. One line command grabs a bunch of images. You can put it in the cloud, on-prem, behind your VPC, wherever you like. And then lastly, this is requiring a lot of turning. Integration. We realize that you probably have a lot of data tools already. So we've purposely designed this to integrate. So if you already have a data catalog, if you already have Informatica for ETL, you use Calibra for governance, that's fine. What we're going to do is take what we find and push that into those other tools. And the other benefit is that we're synchronizing that. We're pushing the same information to all that data stack. So now they actually have, amazingly, the same information. So you can operate more efficiently. We can do this across one region or across different departments. So you just get a lot more effectiveness there. And then, as I mentioned, we build our solution based on virtual images, but we also built the solution on open source technology or our proprietary technology. So there's no third-party licenses. So that means basically you buy our stuff, you don't need to worry about other licensing. It's going to be all included. There's in terms of auditing, this is probably getting into too much details, but a lot of times when you go through sophisticated audits, especially around compliance, you need to understand what's in the software to have true transparency, and you need to be able to cite all the different products you use and all the licensing. And so we've built this thing to be squeaky clean. It's white box. Everything is transparent. We log everything. So, back from my days at the exchange, we built this from the ground up specifically to handle those types of scenarios. So you just don't have to worry about it, right? So this super complicated picture is what you can do with our tool. You can have a chat and find your data. You can get assets that you've loaded. You can get a quick overview. Now, all this stuff is actually available through our standalone UI, but this is also stuff that we're able to exchange through APIs to the rest of the stack. So whatever you see here, we can provide to those other tools. The boxes to the left, if you want to take a picture, that's the one you want to know. So we can quickly get scope. We can traverse your entire data stack. You can encode specific data assets to get deeper comparisons, just like you would with a traditional chat solution. Of course, you can get semantic and technical information because we've already profiled all your data. And lastly, the RAG portion that we just talked about. So all the stuff that we talked about is kind of built in to the UI itself, and it's also available to the rest of your stack. So I kind of went through a lot of stuff here. If any of this is interesting, or perhaps you'd like more clarification, please come to our booth, 706, it's over there. Sign up for a drawing, and love to talk to you about that. Okay, there we are. Oh, there it is, booth 706.